We're going to begin with a deadly and fast-moving wildfire emergency in Southern California. This is a live look at Interstate 5 in Santa Clarita. You can see the thick smoke in the hills. Cars and trucks have been stuck there for about 12 hours, but could be moving soon. At least 2 people are dead. More than 100,000 have been forced from their homes. Dozens of homes have been damaged or destroyed. At least 10 fires are burning in the state, including more than half a dozen that have broken out since yesterday. Errol Barnett leads off our coverage tonight. He's in the fire zone north of Los Angeles in Porter Ranch. Errol, what are you seeing?
Well, around me, John, you see the aftermath of deadly fires which have been raging all day here in Southern California.
What's yours? Well, first of all, what this particular presentation is about, it's about how this environment, as we speak, is changing. Not only is it changing, but it's changing it's becoming less habitable for the European and more habitable for the original man. And we're going to go all into that. And before we go into that, we're going to go into the science of Asiatic. This is a word that has been misused. A lot of brothers call themselves the Asiatic Blackman. A lot of people don't really understand this term, and they have a problem when our great ancestors, such as the Messenger, such as Allah the Father, so even Noble Drew Ali, who taught that we were Asiatic. So you have brothers coming with whether or not we Asiatic, whether or not we African. When we go into the science of this word, we now going to have a deep understanding of what the term Asiatic means and how it transcends all other titles, names, labels, and all of that. So we're going to go in right now.
All right, let's go.
So the science of Asiatic, carbon 7 and 14. We about to go in. First of all, that term Asiatic is a term that has its origins prior to the Kabbalah, but it can be found in the Kabbalistic scripts. So when we ask, what is the Kabbalah? The Kabbalah is, or what they say it is an esoteric method, discipline, and school of thought that originated in Judaism. But in reality, it's the esoteric knowledge that the original man gave the Europeans and Caucasians to civilize them from the hills and caves of Europe to put them on their square, and that's how they became Jews, Masons, etc., to be able to rule the world. That's the mathematics, the science, the astronomy that we gave them to put them on their square. Taught them how to cook their food, taught them how to eat the right foods, and this is what we gave to them to civilize them from the hills and caves of Europe when they was walking on all fours like savages, like beasts. And this is the information that they use to this day to hold over your head so that they can control the environment, control economics, control policy, and you have no idea what's going on because you're not in tune with your ancient scriptures and your ancient texts. Let's break this word down, Kabbalah. As you see in the word Kabbalah, you have the Ka, Ba, and Allah. The Ka in so-called Egyptian religion or our ancient Kemetic spiritual systems is a spiritual entity, an aspect of the individual believed to live within the body during life and to survive it after death. And we understand the only thing that's surviving that the physical body leaves is the electromagnetism, the light, which is known as the mind within the body. Then you have the Ba, also in so-called Egyptian religion or Kemetic spiritual systems, is the aspect of the soul represented as a human-headed bird.
Now, I'm sorry, and I don't want to cut your bill.
Go ahead.
But when you say so-called religious Ka in the Ba, I don't think we can say so-called because we know that was the first call.
Well, let's swing it around.
When we deal with the Ka and the Ba, that's the first call. Right. That's where all the other religions come from.
Right. Well, when I'm saying
can't say so-called.
No, when I'm saying so-called.
Go ahead, brother.
When I'm saying so-called, see, the European have us think that, you know, all of our ancient spiritual systems and sciences was religion in the way that they give it to you today. When we never believed in mystery gods, we never believed in things outside of self. We always understood that we were connected to the all and that we were the gods that we were talking about in these scripts. So when I say so-called religion, I don't see it as a religion, and I'm certain the way that our ancestors threw it down was not about religion.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I ain't gonna cut your bill.
No doubt. You can add on anytime you need to. So the soul, right? We understand the soul phonetically is the same is the same sound or the same word as sol, which is the Latin root which means sun. And the sun meaning star. So that's where we receive the electromagnetic energy within this particular system that we absorb as original people and re-emit as well. Then you have the Allah, which is God or the universal mind of infinite blackness or all light. So when you combine the Ka, the Ba, and the Allah, all that is the arm, leg, arm, head. That's what we say in our culture, the arm, leg, arm, head, which is Allah. And this is the secret of all secrets. And I'm going to show you. When you look at the Hebrew letters of Yahweh, you stand those letters up and you have a body. You have the arm, leg, arm, and supreme head. Now Yahweh means God. You stand those words up and you see that the original man is God. This is the secret that they've always strove to hide from us. This is why they have the sword on the upper part of their head. So when you look at these Masons and these people in these secret societies and submersive groups such as the Masons or the Rosicrucians or the Illuminati or the Order of the Quest or whatever these names are, whether they're spooky or real, we understand that these Europeans are studying us in secret. And they're not giving us the truth that they actually bow down and worship us and worship the information and the science that we brought to them to put them on their square. You can even see Gay Edgar Hoover up here, who was the head of the CIA, also the founder. Then you got a president, Harry S. Truman, Gerald Ford, many other presidents. Even this cracker right here, Luther Burbank, who was a pioneer in hybrid and genetically modified fruits and vegetables in agriculture. And you see he has the Islam on the top of his hat, but we'll go into that. So that sword on the upper part of this flag is to let you know that if they reveal the secret, that it's us who gave them a chance to clean themselves up and come among us, then their heads will be taken off by the sword. Because once we realize who we are as the original people, and this is what they've been hiding the whole time, then we will take their heads off. Now, I have our great ancestor brother up here, Dr. Ben, and we love Dr. Ben, and he dropped some extraordinary, powerful knowledge and information to us as a people. So I would never disrespect this man or this man's lineage or his legacy. He brought us some great works. However, we must keep in mind the reason that most of our brothers and sisters in the Pan-African movement or the RBG movement has an anti-Islamic stance. And I'm not talking about this pale European bastardized mutated version of Islam. I'm talking about the real science of Islam that we used as a practice and built systems that have defeated Europeans for over 1,000 years, and it was brought back in our most recent history by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad Noble Drew and of course Allah the Father. Now as you see, our great brother, he can teach us but so much. Because as you see, he was initiated in the secret orders of the Europeans. He was educated by them, and you see the sword on the upper part of his hat, the sword on the upper part of his flag, which means he cannot reveal the truth of the black man being God. Now, I came to the debate years ago with, it was Brother Wesley Muhammad.
And
Natural Tahuti. And he put the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the board, and he was comparing him to the Masons and showing a connection with him and Masonry. But here's one thing he didn't mention in that lecture, was that he does not have a sword on the upper part of his flag. And this is why he revealed the truth that the black man is God. Let's move on. Back to the Kabbalah. Within the Kabbalah, you have what's known as the 4 Kabbalistic worlds. And here's how we're going to break up a lot of confusion that's been around for many, many years. You have the 4 Kabbalistic worlds. One is Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, also known as Asia. Asiya, which is also known as Asia. Atziluth basically is the representation of the elements that bring forth fire. So it's the archetypal world, plane of will and spirit, but ultimately it represents fire. Bria, the creative world or emotional plane, represents the elements that bring forth water. Then you have Yetzirah, which is the formative world or the mental plane, which basically represents the elements that brings forth air. And then you have Asiya or Asia, which is the physical world, the material plane, which represents earth. So when you have fire, water, air, and earth, fire is hydrogen. Water is HO2, which is 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Air is oxygen, and earth is carbon. Now, what's known in the Kabbalistic text is that the fourth world, known as Asia or Asia, is a combination of all the worlds combined, all the 4 worlds combined. So when you take carbon, combine it with hydrogen and oxygen, then you have melanin. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen equals melanin, and that's the Asiatic world. So when you hear our great teachers such as the Messenger, Elijah Muhammad, or Allah the Father, and they talk about the black man of Asia, they're not talking about a geographical location. They're not talking about a continent. They're not talking about a place on the planet Earth. They're talking about all of these elements that combine to make the physical manifestation of God on this planet. That's the Asiatic world, and that is melanin.